everyone, hope your week has been good so far. My name is Ifwa Akwa Harrison. Today we will tell you about how students in schools subsidized by government have had to cope without support. We will also tell you more about HIV amongst young people and antiretrovirals. And we will be having a discussion with your friends from Sierra Leone, also known as Salone, who produce a kids news program, Waiting Now.
Africa.
You're watching News Generation. Please stay with us. News Generation, supported by
Cowbell with Vitarid.
Remember, you can always find us on social media. We are on facebook.com/newsgenerationgh. Also find us on Twitter at newsgengh. Now, there are about 3.4 million children living with HIV worldwide. Like other countries in the world, HIV/AIDS is present in Ghana. Now, an estimated 150,000 people are infected with the virus. And out of this number, 27,000 are children.
This is 11-year-old Stella. She is HIV positive. She was diagnosed with the HIV virus at age 1 and has been living with it for 10 years. Her mother transferred it to her through birth. Stella has just found out about her HIV positive status.
I asked her that why have I been going to hospital like every 3 months, and then she told me that this is what I have.
Stella relies on antiretroviral drugs to survive.
When she told me, I started taking my medication seriously. I forgot that this is the disease that's worrying me. I'm living a normal life because I take my medicine and I'm not, I don't fall sick every now and then. I'm okay.
All people infected with HIV, especially children, need love and affection in order to cope with living with the virus. Most importantly, they need access to antiretroviral drugs to survive. In Ghana, there have been times when the drugs have been unavailable. What happens to the children when this happens?
Because of this shortage of drugs, the children are going to die and the mortality in the system will be increased.
If we were to have the shortage of drugs, I think like a lot of the children would die. They're like the future leaders of this country. We have to preserve their lives and help them.
According to a pediatrician and head of adolescent HIV and TB clinic at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital, Dr. Anthony Enemel, lack of medications may threaten the lives of children.
And joining us right now is Dr. Anthony Enemel, a pediatrician at the Komfanochi Hospital. Hello, Dr. Enemel. Welcome to News Generation.
Hello, and good evening to you and your audience.
All right. Now, what causes shortages of the antiretroviral medicines?
Shortages could be multifactorial. It could be within the local level, possibly the regional level, and the national level, because antiretrovirals are eventually free. Definitely somebody pays for it, but it is under the coordination of National AIDS Control Program. And traditionally, they have also sought for funds for the drugs from global funds who used to support. But in these days of what we call the global crunch or the difficulties faced by donors, especially the advanced countries, it is becoming increasingly more difficult for these drugs to be sought. So it's possible that the drugs may not be coming because the national hasn't been able to secure funding to procure the drugs.
Okay.
But in the instances where the drugs are available in the country, centers and hospitals must go for the drugs. So if for one reason or the other they are not able to go for the drugs, then it means that they are going to have shortage of drugs. And again, the third case, and I can use Komfanochi, we are a very big center, because the biggest, and as I Ashanti region, and some of the peripheries sometimes tend to depend on us. So, and of course, we can't withhold drugs from those who need them. So in the events where we have gone for our stocks and we have to help the periphery, then we may also have shortage of drugs. But that would mean that we should actually go to the source.
Okay. And what are the possible effects of these shortages?
Antiretrovirals should be taken regularly and permanently for the rest of the person's life. I mean, that is the basic principle. And at this stage of our development, or at this stage of development drugs, that is where we are. It means that there shouldn't be shortage, technically speaking. Because if the person does not take the drug within weeks, what happens is called resistance. In other words, the viruses are able to change or mutate, such that the next time they go back to the same drug, the chances that the drugs will work will be very narrow. And unfortunately, the drugs we use in Ghana, the two main classes of drugs fall into this class where shortage acutely can actually have their consequence on the future of how the drug will work in the patient. So
All
it
right.
can lead to resistance, and eventually all the things that follows resistance will come in.
All right. Thank you, doctor, for joining us. I was speaking to Dr. Anthony NML, a pediatrician at the Komfwa Noche Hospital. So, kids, there we have it. Share your thoughts with us on the topic. How do you think shortages of the antiretroviral drugs can be avoided? Now, more than half the number of girls in low-income areas stay out of school during menstruation. That is about 65 out of every 100 girls in Ghana alone. But square pieces of cloth have changed that for about 1,000 girls already.
Many girls miss up to 3 months of school every year because they do not have the right sanitary material. Missing school for a week each month has an impact on girls' progress, and in some cases, they drop out of school completely. 14-year-old Sarah schools at the St. Patrick's Anglican Primary School in J. Krodua in the Central Region.
Sometimes I don't have money to buy pad, and my parents too don't have money to buy some, so I just use rack. Because of that, we will not come to school, so that if we sit on our chair, the blood will come out from our school uniform, so that the boys will laugh at us.
It's a normal school day, but something unusual happened at the St. Patrick's Anglican Primary School. A group of people came with gifts for only female pupils for a special reason.
We share sanitary wear for you girls for free. We are not going to charge you for anything, but when you use sanitary wear, there's some problems that you face. So we came out with this
Days for Girls is an organization that distributes reusable sanitary pads for girls like Sarah.
If I use it, I'll wash it and dry it on the sun. If it's dry, I'll just send it to the room and go and iron it nicely and put it down. And the next day, I'll use the other one.
The pads are made of woolen cotton, folded in 3 and can be layered for extra comfort. Each bag contains 2 holders for the sanitary towels, which are waterproof, 8 sanitary towels, a cake of soap, panties, and a towel.
The first day and second day is your heavy flow. So your heavy flow, you take the 2 of the washcloth and insert inside the shield. This is your shield, like the normal sanitary wear you use, and then put it nicely under your pants. You hold your pant like this, you turn it outside down, then you stick it under your pant like you normally use your sanitary wear.
The use of this sanitary kit will help increase girls' attendance to school.
It will let me come to school because if I come to school, it will not let me be shy. If I wear it, the blood will not just flow up in my school uniform for the boys to laugh at me.
But it's not just sanitary kits that are given out during the outreach.
Sometimes when the girls visit restrooms, sometimes they don't wash their hands. They just, after washroom, they just touch anything they can get their hands on to. Just dig in bucket or tank or anything to wash their hands. And maybe it can be a cup.
In order to sustain this project, Days for Girls will produce the sanitary kits in local communities.
We are looking for the communities who will help to sew, then we will distribute it to the girls around the community.
Hopefully, many more girls who cannot afford sanitary pads can get this kind of help and stay in school.
Reusable sanitary pads. Would you use them? Let us know on facebook.com/newsgenerationgh. Also, let us know if you know of any cases where girls are forced to be out of school for a few months, even days, because of the menstruation issue. Now, let's check out other stories which also made headlines.
Transport operators have announced a 15% increase in fares, which took effect for Monday, July 14. The new fares were announced on Saturday in a statement after meetings between the Transport Ministry and the transport operators, who were represented by the Ghana Road Transport Coordinating Council, GRTCC. The new transport fares cover chaucheurs, long-distance buses, and taxi operators. The statements released urge operators to strictly comply and charge only approved fares. They are also to publish them at the various transport terminals to avoid any confrontation with passengers. The Ministry of Interior has revealed that about 817 Ghanaians renounced their citizenship in 2013. According to the ministry, the countries from which they sought citizenship include Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Denmark, Austria, Hong Kong, and China. The Ghanaians stated, among other things, good economic conditions and high wages and salaries associated with their professions in their country of choice as reasons for their exit from Ghana. Out of the 817, 450 were females and 367 males. The Director of Migration at the Ministry of Interior, David Agosa, described the situation as alarming because the persons involved were highly skilled professionals. The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, has engaged a Swedish company to produce 1,000 megawatts of power using the environmentally friendly tidal wave technology. The Swedish company would utilize the exceptionally strong tides at the Adan estuary by placing a hydropower plant under the sea to convert the tide into energy. George Mafo, manager of ECG Training School, said the move was part of the ECG's commitment to engage power producers to generate adequate amounts of electricity for distribution to customers.
More News Generation coming up after this.
When your kids need it all, there's only one drink that's got it. Cowbell Chocomalt. It's got the delicious taste of chocolate, the nourishment of malt, the all-round goodness of milk, and sugar for energy, all in one sachet. All I add is water, hot or cold. Now, that's real value. And that's real teamwork. Cowbell Chocomalt, 4-in-1 value with a great new taste.
Welcome back. You're still watching News Generation. Remember, you can always find us on facebook.com/newsgenerationgh. Also follow us on Twitter @newsgengh. Now, how do you manage when you have to study in school using a candle or a lamp, or even leave your school when the term is not over? Well, that is the experience of students in government-assisted senior high schools. Some of them spoke to us about what they go through when government delays subvention to schools.
Delays in the release of subvention to government-assisted senior high schools has become a recurrent problem, and this slows down the administration of these schools. The situation sometimes gets so serious that some of these schools have to use internally generated funds meant for other purposes to run the schools. The worst affected are these senior high schools in the 3 northern regions.
The northern part, they do not pay feeding fee. it is being borne by the government. So that is the basic difference between it. But when you come to government subventions to schools, mainly it takes care of administrative costs, it takes care of the bills, water, light, and other, utility bills and others. It really affects the management of the school. Because when you take even running of the buses, we have to buy fuel. So if we do not have fuel in the buses, we can't run certain things. If the bills we have not paid, ECG, water company will come and disconnect the school, and other administrative duties. Sometimes even papers for running exams and tests, we need to buy them. And if these subventions are not in, it affects the running of these tests.
In some cases, young people who are at the receiving end are unable to go about their academic work and extracurricular activities.
I suppose when subsidies have not been given to us, it means we have to channel all our needs to the school fees. And right now, what our school is doing is that we are taking money from our school fees so that we can cater for all the things needed. And I suppose when we need to carry out sporting activities, we need the money that the government has given to us. And right now, government hasn't given us any subsidies. It means that we will have, it means that it's going to slow down the sporting activities. Therefore, this thing can also link to our academic work, because there's a saying that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Academic work have to really stop. And then when all this happens, it affects the students in diverse ways. And please, let's have in mind, these are the next generational leaders. They are the people we are training to come and take over from us. And so if the subsidies are being delayed and then electricity, there's power fluctuations here and there, and they are not able to learn, how then are we assured of a better Ghanaian future?
Some young people say the unavailability of subvention from government affect the quality and quantity of food they eat on campus and the availability of water.
Our major problem is at the dining hall. Actually, we do pay fees for the dining food, but I think it's an intention of the government to reduce the cost on our parents. So he also gives us subsidies. But if subsidies are not coming, that's when you're supposed to squeeze food at the dining hall, and then the quality too is very low. For someone to become academically sound, food is concerned. So if such situations are happening, let's say you need to go for evening dining and then move to prep after hours, and then there's no food in your tummy, I think you can't concentrate on learning, and it's going to affect academic standard in the school.
The problem has been recurring for many years. With attendant obstacles and in situations like this, some young people think PTAs and old students associations should offer alternatives, especially when the country is facing difficult times.
Accra Academy has an old boys association, so I'd like to use this medium to tell all the old boys around that since the government is facing a little problem in purchasing or getting us the subsidies, would call on all the old boys to do well to help their school.
So it's vacation time again. Yay! Well, not for us. We will still be busy putting together our program for you. So what are your plans for the VAC? Here's what's up.
I intend to pay my grandmother a visit to see how things are faring in my hometown, and then I'll return to school for vacation classes and then prepare for school to reopen.
When we vacate, I'll be visiting my grandma in the village, who I haven't been there for 10 years. And also, we'll be given a 10-break vacation in the house, and I would like to read my notebooks and study for the BEC ahead of me.
I'll be in the house reading my books, then searching for some few stuff on the internet.
During vacation, I would like to stay home to help my parents with their house chores and do my vacation work. After 1 week, I'll come back for vacation classes and learn.
This vacation, my mother will be going to China to bring some goods, and I want to join her there. Yeah.
For the first week of the vacation, I intend to finish my homeworks. Then after that, I prepare for vacation classes. That's what I intend to do.
Did someone say he was going to China? Well, good for you. Now, often when a team performs poorly, coaches are held responsible. Most of them are often sacked or criticized heavily. Now that the World Cup is over, already some coaches have lost their jobs. But should coaches always be blamed for a team's poor performance?
About 90% of the game is dependent on the players. For the coach and management, they can only tell the players what to do. If the players go on the field and decide to misbehave or have other ideas on their own, the coach can only sit down and watch. So for most of the blame should be on the players.
Playing football is all about teamwork, and if they don't work together, they cannot win in that kind of match that they are going to play.
A coach is responsible for directing, instructing, and training a team. Coaches are crucial to the success of a team. Undoubtedly, no football team can do without a coach. Arguably, coaches hold the lifeline of a team. Some coaches at the just ended 2014 World Cup have lost their jobs following their team's poor showing at the tournament.
In there as well, and he goes back, post it in, and Germany lead Muller. Thomas Muller from the...
Key amongst them is Brazil's Luis Felipe Scolari. The Brazilian media descended heavily on him after his team was thrashed by Germany. Scolari was sacked shortly after Brazil finished fourth at the World Cup.
Let's not mince words. The Brazilian team is the worst in history because he didn't pick the players. He picked those he felt were, quotation marks, his boys. If we start mentioning some of the names that were absent, you ask yourself whether this was a serious coach. And that's why not only the media people, but ex-Brazilian players were extremely critical of him.
Sabri Lamouchi, who guided Ivory Coast to the World Cup, and Stephen Keshi of Nigeria have all resigned after their teams exited the tournament. Even coaches who are not sacked after their teams put up poor performance are severely criticized. Others resign when there is intense pressure on them by the media or the public. But should coaches always take the blame for poor performance?
If the coach will get all the praise and all the glory when a team wins, then the coach must be prepared to carry the can when the team loses. And the reality on the ground is that it is something that will not change. The coach must also make sure the team is playing, whether mediocre or not mediocre, because we have seen coaches handle mediocre teams and yet take them to levels that people thought were impossible.
Football analyst Carl Tufor says this trend will not change.
The decision to select national players should entirely be left to the coach and his technical team. Any coach worth his salt, if anybody decides to bring somebody in, you should resign. At the end of the day, the coach can then not escape blame, even though I think Kwesi should stay on. But they should be prepared to carry it. When Ghana qualified, they hailed Kwesi as a god. When Ghana did badly, Kwesi must be prepared to carry the can.
Ghana coach Kwesi Appiah has been retained despite Ghana's poor showing at the World Cup. But even Kwesi Appiah did not escape the wrath of a section of the public. But his colleagues like Italy's Cesare Prandelli, Scolari and Lamouchi are no more in their positions.
So remember waiting now. If you don't, I'll tell you. They are our sister news for young people station from Sierra Leone. Now, they're in town to visit us for a few days, and with me in studio, joining me right now is the producer for Waiting Now, Idris Pange. Is that it?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you very much.
Now, you've been with News Generation for a few days. How has it been so far here?
It's been wonderful. It's been a learning process for my team and all the people that came with me, and we're learning new ideas every day as we go along. So it's been good so far.
Now, tell us, what are the similarities between young people in Sierra Leone and young people in Ghana?
Well, this is West Africa, and the cultures are similar. The people are also similar. So I think the same problems that young people go through here in Ghana are the same problems that young people face also in Sierra Leone. Let's say if there is teenage pregnancy in Ghana, Sierra Leone is not exempted. Young people still fall victim of teenage pregnancy or disease or dropping out of school. So we share the same problems. So I think we have the same problems, I think so.
And what do you think of our bulletin so far, what you've heard in today's news?
Today was really good. I like the stories, especially the sanitary pad stories. It's an issue that normally African families don't discuss with their children, and taking it to the schools at that level, I think it's a good thing because it creates a lot of problems for teenage girls who have started going into puberty. But you know, because it's such a taboo, I mean, it's always creating a lot of complicated problems for these young girls. But now, with such a program going and distributing, obviously, free sanitary pads to them, I think it's been good.
And is it something that is also a huge need in Sierra Leone?
It is, yes. It's an African problem. I'm telling you, this is West Africa. And we share the same culture. We also share the same problems. Now they say there's Ebola in Sierra Leone, Ghana. Well, they say there were some reported cases. Liberia is confirmed, Guinea is confirmed. So we share our joys, our pains, and our happiness together.
Now let's talk about Ebola. How is it going over there for you guys? Is it as serious as they say it is in the international media?
I mean, Ebola is very serious. It is a deadly disease, and I think it have claimed the lives of so many people in West Africa.
Should I be standing close to you right now?
Yes, come on, you should. If I was infected, I would not have been standing here. But yes, I think what a country like Ghana should be doing now is to raise awareness about this virus and telling its citizens. I mean, just being on the bus or touching you, you're not going to have Ebola. You have to be terminally ill for someone to touch you, or if you go and touch a dead person who died of Ebola. You know, it's not something that because I sneeze, you're gonna have Ebola. You know, so but what people should be doing now for a country like Ghana, they should be sensitizing their citizens about this virus.
All right. Thank you so much, Idris. So that's Idris Pange from Waiting Now, our sister station in Sierra Leone, or Salone as they call it. They are here with us for the week and they are just learning a bit from us and we are learning from them as well. Finally, let's take a quick trip around the world with News Round.
The Church of England has voted to allow women to become bishops for the first time in history. The church's ruling body, the General Synod, voted in favor of changing the rules on Monday evening. This means the church rules, which have been in place for thousands of years, will be changed. Women will be allowed to take up some of the church's most important roles in the future. The first woman bishop could be announced by the end of 2015. This latest vote comes 20 years after the church decided to allow women to become priests. Lian Kao, a student in Taiwan who kept a pair of disposable contact lenses in her eyes for 6 months, has gone blind. This was caused by a tiny bug which ate her eyeballs. The tiny single-cell amoeba ate away at Lian's eyes because she did not take out and clean her contacts even once during the time. According to a warning issued by doctors, this case is a severe example of what happens when time is not taken to carry out basic hygiene on contact lenses. As well as being regularly cleaned, contact lenses should also be removed when swimming and washing. The general advice is to avoid wearing contacts for more than 8 hours a day. The short list of locations has been reviewed for the UK's first spaceport, a dedicated base for space planes. 8 sites across the UK have made the short list, 6 of which are in Scotland. The base could be used by companies taking tourists into space, as well as to launch satellites. The spaceport would be the first of its kind outside America, and the government wants to have it up and running by 2018.
So that's it for this edition of News Generation. Remember, you can find us on facebook.com/NewsGenerationGH. Also find us on Twitter @NewsGenGH. From News Generation and Waiting Now, see you next time. Have a good day. News Generation, supported by
Cowbell with Vitarid.